Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio.
Production.
7 Mile Radio.
Warning. But I've always wanted to be a teacher since I was a child. So I kind of just let God lead my path because at first I was going to be a counselor. And then I was like, okay, well, let me try teaching when I first graduated. So I went into teaching and I loved it and it didn't feel like work. And I found that I got complimented a lot by like building relationships with my students and having classroom management. And I think that came from the psychology background that I had, kind of like understanding people to where when you study education, you're focused on how to teach and not like how to build that relationship with the student first. And that's kind of what taught me how to build my my psychology based tutoring service. I realized like, hey, if this kid doesn't feel confident, like it doesn't matter if I teach them 2+2 all day. If they don't believe in themselves when they leave me, they're gonna still do bad in school. So I found that once I start to like get to know my students on a personal level, and I got to show them like how to build their confidence, like they would literally come to me. I was just looking at my old messages the other day, and one of my students was like, Miss Stacy, I got a 77 on my test. He had got a 65 the first time. And then he was like, I got a 77 on my test. Can you help me study for my next one when you get off work? And like he just willingly wanted to do extra studying, and I didn't mind helping him for free or anything, just because he saw like I can improve on my own. And so now he's motivated. And that was my very first student that I tutored. So it just taught me over the years that once you help them build their confidence, when they get to school, they still have the confidence. And then it's not all about just getting straight A's. And I don't make any of my students feel they have to have all A's. Like if we get a C this time, that's fine. If we get a C plus next time, it's about just progressing.
Too often in any industry do we have people that care more about making the money as opposed to the quality of the product that they're there to produce or the people that they're there to serve. And it sounds like that, that is completely flipped on its head with the theory of your business. Like you're going straight for caring about the kids, and you care about the product that you produce in them. That is what the business is about. It's not about me getting paid, although it is a service that you're getting paid for. But that's what I love about what you do as you explained it, because I remember growing up as a kid and just being able to recognize the teachers who cared and who didn't care, even as a young kid, you know what I mean? and that helped to hurt the environment because there wasn't a lot of teachers who put forth that effort to show that they cared when you were trying. You know what I mean? So I can appreciate what you do, and I admire you for that, sister. We need
Thank you.
more of you out here with that. So a little bit about the books. How many books have you published out here so far?
Published 3.
3.
And then I have 3 new ones coming out.
So what are the names of the books that you have already published, and what is the basis of those?
The first one is called Young and Ambitious. It's 8 characters, 4 girls, 4 boys. The girls are based off my 4 personalities at the time when I wrote it. And the guys are based off different guys that I've dated, like their personalities. And I use like some of my life story and things that I've seen in life to kind of like lead the plot. And it's like their lives are intertwined and they're just going through life, but the message was kind of like no matter what you go through, you can make it. It's based in Detroit, so it's like a young adult novel. I really wanted people to understand that, because all my life I've been told like I'm privileged and things like that, but when I really think about my story, when I think about like my mom had me when she was only 16 years old, like really I could have been a statistic and I wasn't. So really, I mean, yes, I guess in a sense I was kind of privileged to not go through certain things, but like I was supposed to be a statistic, but I still made it out because of the sacrifices that, my mom made for me. So I just wanted everybody to know, like, instead of worrying about what other people have going on, like, just believe that you can also make it out and that you don't have to, just believe that you're nothing because you come from a city like Detroit and they say bad things about the city. You can still be successful. You can still, find other routes to life. So that's kind of the message that I wanted to put in that book. And it took 9 months to write it. I've been writing since I was 11, but it was like my first book I actually published. And then the next one was a journal called 40 Days of Focus, because I had spent 40 days off Facebook. And I found that I like accomplished a lot of goals during that time. So I'm like, you know what? Let me like put this in a journal for other women. Like get focused on your goals and stay focused. But it's like a guided journal. So every 40 days it's a different prompt. And it's kind of getting you to realize, okay, well, why do you want these goals and what's in it for you to try to keep you focused? And then the third one was the Master Multiplication, which I made because I've tutored and I see like multiplication was really hard for my students. Some like the methods that I use to teach them, I'm going to put it in the book. And those are the 3 that I have published now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So did you have a you when you were in school? Right? Well, like what was your motivation for even, because you started teaching and you seen a void in the system and you wanted to create your own I guess way of doing it, and that's how you came up with your company. Like, what was the thought behind that?
I think it was, I've kind of always been this way. Like I'm like a Tupac fan. I've always been into like Black history and learning. Like, okay, well, why are we like this? I always like wondered like, why are my people this way? And I always just felt like it was uncomfortable to be like, well, it's in your DNA, it's genetic, and you're violent, and you're like this, and I knew that just wasn't true. Mm-hmm. So, like, by the end of college, I was really studying, like, people like Dr. Umar, and, like, all these people who's teaching you all this history, and I'm like, I thought we were just slaves, and that's it. Like, I didn't know
that's what they taught us.
I didn't know we had no other history before that. Like, I didn't know nothing about us was positive. Like, I really didn't know that until college.
A lot of us didn't know, until the last 15, 20 years type stuff.
So, when I learned that, that's kind of what sparked it in me. And then when I became a teacher, I realized, I said, oh, okay, these kids don't really have nobody to understand how, like, education is more than just go to school, learn something, and go home. Like, these kids are in here believing that they're nothing. Like, they believe that white people are better. I've heard a lot of my students say that. I had a student tell me
straight up, just like that, out of their mouth.
Yes, they would say, "I wish I was in a white family." A student told me reading is for white people, and it's because they really don't. They see society and they're like, well, those are the only people that got it good, that don't have
those
to
are
struggle.
The ones that's thriving. So I wish I want to be like them.
Yeah, so they're just naive. They don't understand. And I was like, okay, somebody needs to teach them. Like, there's so many successful black people out here, and yeah, we do have to work hard to get there, but it's people out here that look like us that made it, and like they're not just rappers, entertainers. Like, they're regular people who like own businesses, doctors, nurses. So that kind of sparked my drive for and my passion for wanting to do education.
Hey everybody, I'm here. So I found out Stacy was coming, so I wanted to come in and be able to ask her some questions and kind of help her tell her story a little bit. So I wanted, Mark left off talking about the 3 books that you have published, and you say you have 3 coming up. So
Yes.
we want to talk about that. One of the first one you're going to release or complete?
The journals, they actually just arrived yesterday. So I'm going to re-release the 40 Days of Focus. And then I have 40 Days of Shadow Work, 40 Days of Celibacy. And I made those based off of my journey after my last relationship. I decided to be celibate, and then I decided to do shadow work. I felt like, although a relationship is it's not just one person's fault, I feel like part of my responsibility was like my immaturity or my anger, the way I acted. And I'm like, okay, maybe I got some of this stuff from my childhood and how I was raised and how I grew up and what I saw. And I was like, but I don't like those qualities. So shadow work, for people who don't know, is pretty much healing, and is you like looking deep inside of yourself and saying, okay, well, why do I do this? Why does this trigger me? Why does this make me angry? Why does that make me sad? If you have any defense mechanisms or things like that, like, where do those stem from? And so those are things like I literally used to write in my journal like 3 times a day, like just trying to understand myself. And then it's also a process of like just crying a lot, because you're trying to like shed who you once were to become the better person. And then like after a while you like don't recognize yourself anymore. So it's like that whole process. So I wanted to make it into a journal because I see like a lot of broken women, or like women who are like super angry or super sad. And like I remember being a child and my mom used to always tell me like, your attitude is so bad. And then I didn't realize until I was an adult, like, don't nobody want to be around a person with a bad attitude. And I'm still working on it today. So it's like, those are things that we have to like consciously work on. Like, you can't just ignore if your personality is a certain way or certain things are always bothering you. So I wanted to turn that into a journal. So I was like, I might as well make like a 40 days journal line with my journals.
So in regards to your shadow work journal, 40 Days of Shadow Work, can you give me an example of one of the prompts?
I can't remember word for word, but something would be like, when is the last time that you were angry? Like, why did you get that angry? Where do you think it stemmed from? Who did you hurt in the process? How did you hurt yourself in the process? So multiple questions that kind of get you to see the entire picture, how you can harm yourself, other people, and where it even comes from.
Like thought-provoking questions. And your third book, the book is about celibacy, a 40-day journal about celibacy.
Yes. So the goal is not just to be celibate for 40 days.
Of course.
But it's a start, and then it's like a self-love journal. So it's asking you prompts about, you know, how would you love yourself better, even specific relationships, about like, when was the time that you felt that somebody didn't properly care for you or something like that. So where you're opening your eyes, because a lot of times I hear women a lot say, I ain't being celibate. But then it's like, if you pay attention to how men treat you, even the ones that are having sex with you, and you explore that with yourself, you will realize, like, maybe I shouldn't even have sex because they don't make me feel good, really, besides the sexual pleasure. And it's helping you love yourself, because when you don't love yourself, you're going to allow men who don't care about you to constantly have sex with you, don't take you on a date, don't give you no flower, don't tell you, don't help you with your tire.
Shadow work, thing about shadow work, and I believe it was your show that we talked about this on, Tanisha, that I said, like, people who aren't honest with themselves, shadow work is counterproductive. How can you can't do shit if you're already lying to yourself about who you are, like before the shadow work, before you get into that, then all you're gonna do is tell yourself things to convince yourself that what you're doing is right and how you are. So yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. People who aren't honest with themselves can't, like, can't do shadow work basically.
But that's why you will cry a lot, because you're like, this really me, and it is you, and it's okay. Like, you just got to get better. But that's why it makes you sad.
And I think that the shadow work journal is so awesome, because for people who can't be honest with themselves, they won't ask themselves the hard questions. You know, like, how did I harm myself? So to have that in black and white, you can't avoid that. Like, you got to write something that answers that question. You can't get around like, how did I harm myself? And you have to really process that. So that shadow work is a journal for shadow work is profound.
Yeah,
let me just
because
say
it's
that.
private. Because you don't have to let anybody else see what you put in your journal. This is between you and God, or you and whoever you believe in. It's just y'all. It's nobody else knowing what you're thinking. So.
And so the shadow work journal, it prompted or led to the celibacy journal.
No, they both were like at the same time, because I felt like after you're in a relationship for a long time, like, you should be celibate, and when you're celibate, I learned that it helped me love myself better, because if you go out and you start having sex with somebody while you're still healing, like, you're not able to heal. Like, you can't heal with another person. And then once you start having sex before you even, like, date the person or try to get to know them, you mix all these emotions before y'all even build anything. You don't have a friendship. You don't have nothing yet. And then you just start having sex, and I think it kind of ruins it. And then once that man start treating you a certain way because he didn't got what he wanted, now you feel less about yourself. So it's about self-love.
Absolutely. And for your journals, are they useful for men as well?
They're not.
They're not. Okay. All right. They are
Only
women centered.
Like, I don't know if men journal, and I ask men this all the time. Like, would you sit there and journal every day? And most of them say no. So it's like, I don't think they will really, like, buy it.
Okay, but it's good for them if they would buy it for a mate or a family member or someone like that.
Yeah.
And where can they get your books?
On my website, stacylampkin.com.
That's Lam. Stacy is
I can spell
C-E-Y,
it.
yeah.
I can spell it. So STACYLAMPKIN.
Oh, .com. StacyLampkin.com.
Yes.
And tell us the name of the books again. I don't know, because there's so many, I don't want to overwhelm, but just slowly.
Okay.
The ones that you already have, can you just restate the titles so that they can, find them and look them up and purchase them?
Yes. So Young and Ambitious, and that is the first book. That's the novel. I'll talk about that one last. 40 Days of Focus is the first journal. 40 Days of Shadow Work. 40 Days of Celibacy. And then I have the Mastering Multiplication, which is good for like 1st through 3rd grade students learning multiplication. And then the How to Educate Your Child at Home one is the one that's coming out next month.
And that's about homeschooling.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope. The title could be misleading, but
and that's actually one of the things that I was going to ask you, because I seen the book and I was going to ask you. So you're basically, giving us a outline on how to school our kids at home, and that's not what that is. That's not.
Well, we need that. We need that though.
It's really an outline on how to facilitate at home. So homeschool parents could definitely use it, because it's based off the top 20 psychological principles to learning.
Okay.
So it's explaining how your child learns and what you need to do to get the best growth in that learning, using all of my educational experience and knowledge. So a homeschool parent could use it, because there's certain things that teach you, like, you're supposed to give clear, explanatory, and timely feedback. So if you're not an educator, maybe you don't know how fast your feedback should be to what your child does. And I explain it not just academic. I give academic examples and real world examples. So a lot of parents, like growing up, my mama would get mad at me about something and then start bringing up what I did 2 weeks ago. That's not how it works, because now I don't care what I did 2 weeks ago. It's not effective. So you're supposed to do it immediately and give feedback. It doesn't have to be like a harsh punishment.
I'm one of those parents.
Yeah.
So
but,
it's almost like a manual to teach parents how to effectively teach their kids, basically.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And I did that because I realized, even as a classroom teacher and a tutor, I was like, parents just don't know what to do. Because at first I would get frustrated, like, why are you coming in parent-teacher conference and don't know that your kid got 5 Fs? But I'm like, I'm like, okay, maybe they just really didn't know how to help their kid, and that's kind of what it does. Like, it's letting you know, like, hey, this is what a educator is going through the entire time. This is what you should be doing while they're doing that. And that's the basis of the book, using those different 20 principles.
A lot of parents feel like, it's just the teacher's job for their kids to be successful alone, right? With no kind of help or any kind of input from them. Like you said, they come to parent-teacher conference surprised that their kids have all Fs. Like, how are you surprised? How do you not know?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of parents just say, go do your homework, right?
Yeah.
And then when you
they're
they can't even really help these days. And not we can't help, because, I'm gonna educate my children are none of them are in school anymore. But at the time I was able to help, but I know, like, my mom, I was okay in school, but my sister would have problems. My mom didn't know how to help. She would send my sister to me to help, and that made my sister feel some kind of way about learning, because my younger sister got to help me with my homework. But parents don't always know the curriculum, the coursework. They don't always have that level of understanding themselves.
And I would imagine that, like, just like now today, the courses are outdated from what we learned. You know what I mean? So imagine, our parents back in the day, it was just the same way, if not a little bit worse.
So I do try to give as many recommendations as possible, just because I understand as a teacher. Like, even though I'm a teacher, it doesn't mean I don't sympathize or understand. So I let parents know, like, hey, if you cannot afford a tutor, YouTube videos. It's a YouTube video on how to do everything, because I even still look up YouTube videos on, like, how do I solve this problem. So I recommend, like, YouTube videos. They have stuff like Khan Academy, iExcel. So I do give those recommendations for parents who are saying, like, I just really don't know how to assist. And I also tell parents in the book too, you should get your student syllabus, and also ask, the teacher has to make lesson plans every week. Ask that teacher for the lesson plans, or ask her for her outline, so that you know what topics your child is doing at any given moment. Because I think it's unacceptable if I'm saying, like, when I get parents for tutoring, I say, well, what is your child working on? I don't know. I gotta ask. And I get it, but it's like, you should know, because you got 1 or 2 kids. You should be able to tell me they're working on X, Y, and Z, in my opinion, because then how can you ever help them if you never know what they're doing? So I do give that suggestion too, like, just ask the teacher for her lesson plans or her outline, and the teacher should have no problem, giving you that. And if they do, something's wrong.
I'm about to say, because you're helping their job at this point. Like, they want you to help, so they should have that for you to assist your kids with.
I absolutely commend you for doing what you're doing. Seriously.
Thank you.
Do you have any children?
I don't.
I wouldn't say that's even better, but I mean, the fact that you are a single young lady and you give to keep children like this is just really a blessing of the Lord, really, I could say.
Thank you.
And I commend you 100%, and I thank you, right? I thank you, because for all the you've written a book for teens, and, young adolescents, and you've written a book for parents, and you've written books for women, and so that's just so honorable. And so I just really want to commend you on your hard work and your labor. And so I wanted to know, I was going to go back to speaking on, you have Kids Wear Crowns, right? This is your tutoring company in which you offer tutoring services, in-home tutoring service, personal tutoring service. Do you also tutor college students?
I have had a few college students.
All right, let's put that out there.
It's usually math or reading, or like a writing class. Anything else, I cannot help you with.
Okay, well, that's everything.
It says college math. Like I said, one-on-one. It says one-on-one lessons. We got online or in person, K through 12, all subjects, college writing, college math, and GED.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so awesome, the GED program. So, how do you get your clients?
It's usually word of mouth. Like most of my clients is word of mouth. I would say most of them are like nurses or Quicken Loans.
Okay, do you
Because
work in
they'll
that
usually,
area?
Like, nope, they'll usually like tell their coworkers, and that's usually how I get those clients.
Are you do you work in a public school, or do you work in a charter school, or do you work in a private
charter school.
You work in a charter
It's
school.
a charter school.
I don't want to get off topic from yours because I would want to get into the whole charter school.
I don't like
public
charter
school.
schools. I don't like them.
It's hard work without a union, ain't it?
I don't like them. I'll be honest about that. I don't like charter schools.
But nevertheless, for parents, is there a difference for the education in which a child, or the focus or the goal of a charter versus a public school?
People I study, and just my opinion, is public is better. Only because I just feel like charter schools are so test based, because they're getting a lot of their funding from test scores.
Okay.
So then when you gotta base it off of that, like I worked at a school before, I'm not gonna say which school, but it was kindergarten, and they literally told us stop teaching the curriculum and teach for the test.
Wow.
And
The
since
teaching
I'm
for
not
the
a
test.
person that care about no test or no grade, I care about
care
like
about the
what are you
kids.
really learning for the long run. That bothered me. And so now, like, what I've just noticed is that their emphasis, they're telling you like, hey, we gotta get the test scores up, we gotta get it. But they would come if we just able to focus on what the kids is learning all together and make sure the kids are good. They're sitting at computers for hours taking a test, and they start them in kindergarten. So just imagine a 5-year-old just
so
like
programmed.
clicking,
It's
and
so
they're like, oh, they
programmed.
clicking through it, yeah, because who's about to sit there and read it and they're 5 years old? So that's the part I don't like. Is it's like, if your money coming from that, then of course you want to get some money, but it's not about the kids. Then it's about the money.
It's about tests. And so, and I wanted to know, because you teach, you see our next generation. I think you told me you teach middle school.
Yeah.
How's the socialization? How's the social skills coming? I'm concerned. Look, I'm
Middle
telling you, I'm so
school
concerned.
is the worst. And I'm in a teacher group, and everybody say it. Like, I taught high school psychology. Loved it. I love the kindergarten. I love the babies. And then I taught middle school. They the worst. Because they in that age group where you can't even get too mad because they so young. But then it's like, they just do whatever they see online or whatever their
It's like
friends
they're old enough to listen and know better, but they don't. And then you can't say nothing to them, and you too hard on them because they too little.
Yeah. So, because like the high schoolers, even though sometimes I would have behavior issues, but they old enough. You come into class, you do what you got to do, you go to your next class. Middle school, no. It's like you repeating yourself more than you would with the smaller kids. And it's like they think it's funny and they think it's fun, and it's really not. It's like we trying to learn.
And they turn it into a game to annoy you.
And they just know more stuff than me. Like, they know more Instagram. They teach me some stuff that happened, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that happened. So, like, the social life with middle schoolers, and I always tell parents, check your kids' phones. Like, me and my students are always really close because of how I build with them. And then the stories that I hear, they're like, oh, so-and-so had this in their phone in this picture. And I'm just like, what? So I always tell parents, check your kid's phone. Like, I'm gonna be that parent that's going through my kid phone every day. Like, to make, and then watch their friends. You need to meet their friends. Mama used to meet all of my friends to know like what their personality is like, who is this kid you're around. So middle school nowadays, they're smoking, they're drinking, and they're like
doing everything.
When I was in middle school, I don't remember that stuff at that time. So I don't like it. It makes me emotional when I'm at work, because I'm like I really care about these kids. And I see like they destructing and they think it's cool, and it's not.
And this is not a follow-up question to that, but another aspect of the education system these days is, how is the whole ADHD and autism thing playing out in schools these days?
I don't see a lot of autism.
But is it a lot of undiagnosed autism, or is it just you don't see a lot of autism?
I don't see a lot of autism,
Okay,
but I
that's
do see
positive.
a lot of diagnosed for ADHD, which I feel some type of way about. Just because
Just because some
ADHD.
kids don't have the personality that you
Yeah.
can maintain or that you
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
right? It's not cause to put them on medication to regulate
Exactly.
their
Yeah.
personalities.
Exactly. I
Right?
hate it.
And then
I
that,
hate
It's a
it.
learning
and that
issue.
caused to earlier when you spoke on, I forget what it is that you were saying, but it put me in a mind frame of the police officers not being from the areas that they police. They don't understand the people. So
Yeah.
again, you have teachers
And
that
then
are
they
in
shoot 'em.
classrooms. They have teachers that are in classrooms that are not from the communities of the kids that they're teaching. So therefore, again, it's the same aspect of them not understanding the personality and the people. So now they misdiagnose, just like sometimes we're charged or accused of. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's important that you have teachers that understand the students, the
Yes.
psychology of the students. So,
Right.
and that's why I feel like it's very important that she has this psychology based tutoring, and the way that she's doing it just flips the whole school system on its head. I feel like that's a system that all of the school systems should adopt.
I agree because, well, for one, I never advocate for labeling your kid ADHD or special ed. Like when I get students for tutoring, their parents ask me their opinion. I always say no. I say let me work with them first. Let's see what we can do, and then we'll see the progress. And I'll be like, see, I'm glad you didn't give them that label. But just what you were saying, like I get so many compliments on my classroom management versus people who's been teaching for 10 years, like literally, and they'll be grown men that's teaching that long and don't have a classroom management.
Because they're teaching off of basically like they're teaching the kids to learn the way that they're off of like a textbook theory.
Yeah.
They have no real experience or connection to the kid. Like they're basing off what they were told to teach.
The cardboard
The
boxes.
connection that you said is important because why would I listen to you if I don't like you? Why would I want to listen to you teaching me
And
if
that's why
I feel offended by
that's
you?
why a
You
lot
know?
of these kids come to the schools with the attitudes that they have, because they have that notion about their parents.
Yep.
I don't even like you, so why am I listening to you? Now I'm gonna come to the schools and have another authority figure that's not even my parents. You're
Tell
gonna
me
get
what to do
even
all day.
less disrespect. You're gonna get even less respect.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody like you that comes in that's giving them more nurturing, more love, more care than their own parents sometimes, that you know what I mean? Which is exactly what they need, because some of these kids, honestly, from what I've seen and experienced out here in the streets, sometimes they got more sense than their parents.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I
They
mean?
really do.
And
these
part
days.
Yeah.
of why they acting the way they acting is only a reflection of what they see in their own environment.
That's
These is
true.
much better kids than I recall a couple of years ago when I was driving Uber, and when it's raining or when it was snowing, sometimes at the bus stop, I would pull up on women at the bus stop and say, "Hey, you need a ride? I'm going this way. You see, I'm an Uber driver. I don't need no money, right?" And then sometimes they would pick someone, "Get away from my car." But one time it was like 3:00 in the morning, and it was a young girl about 14 years old who had ran away from home, and she had like a bag of clothes and whatnot. So fast forward, and I went live on Facebook when I dropped this girl off to her dad, and somebody from her mother's family's church seen it and told me the whole background story of the girl, and that she was a straight A student, and that her mom was just ratchet. And that's what she was telling me. Like, she left the house because her mom had a dude move into the house that was treating her all kind of way. So she left. So again, you have kids who come from environments who are much better than the environments that they come from, and they have no examples around them to show them or motivate them to be any better. You know what I mean? So that's why I know that's what you're doing is just so golden. You know what I mean? Especially in this day and age where we have so many people that's just money driven in the careers that they in, and that's all that they focused on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so how does your first book, the novel, does that address some of the social issues and learning issues and that type of, that you see in schools today for that they can read and follow and engage with?
It wasn't a lot of school in there. It was
Okay.
more like socially at home. It was more about like the issues that you deal with your parents. Like each one of their parents had like these different personalities that affected how they came out. So I kind of focused more on like family dynamics and also friendship dynamics, because like in the book they really stuck together, and if we just stick together we'll be able to make it further. So that was another theme that I had in there. So it was like not really about school.
But it was a solid foundation for social skills and
Definitely
getting
a lot
along
of
in
social
society
skills,
and
yep.
developing yourself and persevering, right?
Yep.
Because I feel like a lot of what we're saying is kids don't have enough hope.
Yeah.
right? To see,
You know,
we already know
motivation.
they don't have insight. They kids,
Yeah.
they probably can't see
They
2
have
weeks
no
ahead.
motivation, and then when
But-
adults around them
Yeah.
are draining them,
Yeah.
you know, of any possible positive energy they can have, or possibly growing any kind of it's real. It's a real tragic situation for a lot of these kids out here, and that's part of the reason why I want to get into teaching. You know what I mean? Because when I asked you, did you have a you? Like I want to be the me that I was or that I had. You know what I mean? Because it was a guy by the name of Hakeem Scruggs, who was an A&R from So Def, who took me under his wing when I was in high school and showed me the ropes on all of this computer and music. But if it wasn't for him, my band director, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. God knows where I would be. You know what I mean? So that's how I know how important it is, because I needed that when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
And they need that, because as a teacher, you're going to hear so many negative things that these kids say about themselves. And you're gonna be like,
About
why?
themselves.
Yeah, like, why do you feel that way about yourself? Like, when you
somebody
say they
told
don't need
them, for
hope,
one.
yeah, they don't have hope, they don't. Especially when it comes to the future, you'll ask them, like, well, what do you want to be when you... The worst question I hate was I say, who is your role model? I don't got no role model. Why would I look up to anybody? And I'm like, what? Like, that's a normal question that at least I thought was that you'd be like, oh, my mom, my aunt, or this person.
Because we live in a society, and now I'm gonna insert hip hop into the play, right? Where it's frowned upon to want to be like somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You want to be like, you know what I mean? Like, you just want to be your own person. That's, I guess, the I guess where the confidence is instilled into, but that's very false. You need some type of a example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know everything. You have to have somebody to learn from,
Yeah.
a successor, if you will. So I think that's where that comes from, is the bravado of hip hop, saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to be like nobody. I ain't no
Yeah.
copycat." You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm me. And then it's also like, well, what do you want to be when you get older? I just want to make money.
Right.
Ain't that
Well,
the truth?
Go
Well,
back
how?
to hip hop.
They all gonna be internet superstars,
Yeah.
influencers. They all gonna
And
be
then
influencers.
it's like, that life probably come with so much stuff that you don't even know behind doors that
come
people
on.
have to deal with.
Come on, man.
Like, a lot of celebrities talk about suicide. Like, they're rich, can do whatever they want, but they want to die. They want to kill themselves. So, it's a lot that comes with it, but in their minds, like, it's just about money. I just
Well,
want to make
talk
a lot of
about
money.
how the fact that all of these people that is making them glorify this lifestyle that they're glorifying isn't living it themselves.
Yeah.
And never did it. Like, this guy is talking about, all of the women in the clubs and all of that, but he sit down when he get out off the mic in the studio, he go home to his wife and kids and enjoy all of the money
Yeah.
that he making off of you buying into his ideas. That
They
he's
got
going on.
families,
life.
they got kids, they protecting their kids. Cardi B says she don't let her kids hear any cursing, but y'all are hearing all her cursing. So it's like you're glorifying it, but you don't even know they're protecting their
Snoop
kids
Dogg
from
been
the
a pimp
world.
his whole career. Married to his high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like, it's all a business. It's an industry, and you fall into it and try to turn yourself into what you think they are, and get the short end of the stick out here.
Which is why they need the role models, because they're so
Which is
young, they
exactly
don't
why.
understand. And if they had a role model to kind of guide them, then they would look at stuff as what's reality and not,
Realistically, right? I was supposed
yeah.
to say,
Do you intend to continue teaching?
No.
Okay, what's next for you?
I'm starting a business called SL Pro Services, where I just create courses, curriculums, and ideally I want to focus on business owners, because I feel like not only is it another stream of income, but when you get a skill, you teach it. Like, that's how you keep it going.
Each one teach one.
Yeah, and I realize, especially like with trades and stuff, these kids don't know how to use their hands. They so lazy. And like, even growing up dating, like, this is the first person I ever dated that like could do everything like my granddad. And I was like, okay, like, it shouldn't be like that. Why aren't more men knowing how to change my tire or something, So I feel like it's something that like we need to start teaching our skills. And then, even though like as a teacher you don't get paid much money, because I have additional skills, is how I'm able to like live still with being paid as a teacher.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna kind of, I just want to take 1 minute to address that, right? Because you have a psychology degree, right? And you're working as a teacher. That's a total different type of salary, So
Yeah.
that's a labor of love in what you're doing. How did you decide to teach opposed to going into counseling or going into psychotherapy or something like that?
Number one, I don't believe in medicine. I could do counseling, but I don't believe, like, I realize with counseling comes with a lot of, are they ADHD, are they depressed? And then, I mean, you prescribe them something for depression, and then you give them these chemicals that further disrupt their hormones, and they're more depressed. And so I slowly realized that counseling and therapy wasn't really what I wanted to do. I couldn't do that.
Almost one and the same, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had I always say I take counseling at the drop of a dime for a short period of time. If I'm having an issue, I need to get through it. I need somebody to hold me accountable. You know, did you do this? Follow up person. But to me, a therapist these days is only like a life coach. Like they not really helping you do anything internally. It's just like, okay, well, you said you want to do X, Y, and Z. Did you do X, Y, and Z? Well, why not? Why are you going to do it? Well, what's holding you back? That's just life coaching. That's not really like dealing with my mind. Like, okay, this is why you do and what you doing.
I seen a meme that broke down the word therapist and separated it into two words and said the rapist, and they just like raping you out of your money.
I went to therapy for one day, literally one day, and I never went back. And I found that like shadow work did me better. And then I also had a mentor.
Self therapy,
right? Because you just if you ain't honest,
better than me. Right?
It don't help you.
Somebody to tell me about me, and they just gonna tell me, "Oh, you crazy? Take this pill."
Right. So, but I did have a mentor who was like my life coach, which I felt like was way better because you're really doing it. It really is your therapy. But you're actually getting help in action steps and things like that, and I liked that a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And so I want to know: do you plan to do anything for men in the future? Write a book
That's
or
what I
write
was gonna
something
ask.
for
You
men?
let me do it. I'm playing. That's what you're here for, sister. You're doing
Honestly,
great.
what I want to do, I want to collaborate with my boyfriend because I'm such a reader, such a book lover that I would love to have as many books as possible one day. So I would love to have some for men, but like. When I've asked him, like, do men journal? He's like, no, and so do other men. So, like, I would like to collaborate with him or something to see, like, what would men engage in. And then if we can come up with something like that, then, yeah. But if not, because I don't know, what they do. Like, like they just go to the gym or something. You need his insight for that. Yeah, like, I don't know how men release.
And you know what's crazy? We live in a society now where it's damn near taboo for a woman to tell a man what to do, or for a man to tell a woman.
Yeah, and I don't really want to tell a man.
Because it's not received well. But who sometimes should we hear from other than the opposite, except from our partners, right? Yeah. And I hate that we live in a society right now where that conversation, any conversation that involves men versus women in any kind of a way, becomes divisive. Yeah. And now it's a finger pointing battle. And we never get to the core of solving any of the problems, or even if there's a problem, just coming to a common ground about anything that we're talking about, because it becomes a back and forth about, oh, well, men do. And it's a lot of times we throwing up stuff that we didn't even do or haven't even been done to us. We saying, oh, well, women do this and men. You ain't even experienced that. You just throwing that up just for the sake of being right in the conversation. Like, we can't even have a conversation with each other.
Well, how do you
considered man bashing or woman bashing? We're just talking about our experiences and the things that we didn't like, maybe. We all talk about black people don't love each other. We show each other love. We love each other, right? It's just that sometimes we don't like to be held accountable for our BS, right? And like to be told that what we doing that's not right. You know what I mean? In regards to the people that we supposedly love or that love us. So that's the thing. We just got to do a lot of shadow work. As a whole in our people.
But I think men and women need to talk more. And I was gonna say, how do y'all feel about Kevin Samuels? Because I think that kind of like created a lot of the divide, no matter how people felt about his message or not. Because then women got offended and men agreed, and so now it feels like we against each other. When really we supposed to be figuring out how to have healthy black families. So
why are these things? I guess the notion, whatever Kevin Samuels is saying, like why are these things thought? Why do people feel that way? Because obviously they do. So many people agreeing about it. So let's have a conversation.
I just feel like why. I mean, not even why prepare women to be wives. That's great. Why do that without also preparing a man to be a husband? Because
that's
then
what
we
keep saying. That's what we keep saying.
Like we got all these terrible options. You know what
Right.
I mean?
We all ready and they
but
not,
then we're
right?
supposed to be wife ready, and then they like still,
But see,
you know.
again, we feel it's a lot of men that feel the same way. Like, there's no options for us out there. You know what I mean? Regardless of us knowing that there are good women out there, and regardless of you all knowing that there are good men out there. It's just the general consensus of what we experience on the higher percentage of the time that we talk about. So, you bash. We're not bashing. We just had some bad experiences, and we upset about it, and we passionate about it because we love each other. We want love, and we're mad about it because we shouldn't be going
Mad about
we
it.
shouldn't be going through this shit. You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
That's a good way to put it,
I
Mark.
never look at it as she's bashing men. Like she just talking about. You know what I mean? Now again, when you make a specific type of a judgment and make a blanket statement like all men are this way, then okay, now that's you crossing the line of bashing. Then you can't say that all men. You ain't did nothing with all of them. We can't say all women are no kind of way. So we just got to be more understanding of each other. I feel like comprehension and communication and comprehension is important, just as important as each other. So.
Definitely understand.
I agree with
more
that, though.
understanding. Mark, any close out or any last words? Any last
just
questions?
for the last we said stacylampkin.com is where they get your books and all other information about anything that you got going on with your company, right?
Oh, also kidswearcrowns.org.
Oh, that's the website for that.
Is the education website. The books are on both.
Okay.
The education books are only on kidswearcrowns.org.
Kidswearcrowns.org. All parents go to kids.org. Kidswearcrowns.org for support on homework support. Let's say homework support. How to help your kid with homework, the importance of helping with homework, all those types of things, and the tutoring. Because I don't like I said, I don't have no small kids, but I think I might have somebody who could use you for tutoring.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Kids Wear Crowns is where they would find you for tutoring
they
as
can
well.
find tutoring, education books, and then I also built out different curriculums. I have like flashcards, I have reading cards, so different stuff I've created over the years that I've used with my students for tutoring to help them. I also sell it on the website, and those are digital. So you would have to like print them out and then like use it with your child.
That is so awesome.
Most definitely. Yeah, and like I said before the show, before we got on the air, I definitely am interested and looking forward to working with you on everything that I'm putting together. And I will definitely keep you in mind when we open up the center for anything that you may be able to utilize the facility with. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's all about, just having a spot for us to educate our kids and, send a platform to share our information. And you're always more than welcome to come back and share again and keep us updated on everything that you got going on, because I'm really impressed with you, sister, and I believe in everything that you're doing. I'm glad that you're out here doing it, and
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So until next time, like I said, go ahead and visit stacylampkin.com, kidswearcrowns.org.
Yes.
There's the two websites. Get the book, sign up for some class, get your kids some real education with this sister right here, man. She is holding it down for our community, and I'm glad to have her here in the studio with me. So we'll be out of here until next time. Our next vendor that we interview for the event this Saturday, and y'all, we out of here at 7 Mile Radio.
Now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile Radio.